honestly. I was hoping that at this point we would have given away because it would be a cure and this illness wouldn't exist anymore and blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. So we're here, and we've been getting bigger and stronger with every year, making a difference in all kinds of ways. We have a huge mission right now. Our mission is to inform, empower, and support patients and drive research toward a cure. And the big part of getting to a cure, or at least to better treatments, is getting to clinical drug trials. So Angioma Alliance over the past few years has really been ramping up what we consider to be a program, not just individual little things, but a really comprehensive program to help us get ready for clinical drug trials, to get us there and to make them successful. Because I gotta let you know, a lot of rare diseases, and even not so rare diseases, get to the point of developing a medication that can help, but then things collapse at the drug trial stage because they're not established correctly, because patients aren't participating or signing up. And we want to make sure that when our time comes and we have medications that are going into trials, that our patients are ready, our centers are ready, our doctors are ready, and everybody's all on the same page. So to do that, what Angioma Alliance has put in place is a number of things, and then there are a few other things that are coming down the pipeline. The first thing that I hope all of you are in, and if you are not, you should leave here today and sign up immediately for, is the patient registry. And you can get there at angioma.org/registry. We try to keep it easy, and I think actually what I'm going to be doing is slide on each one of these, so I'm not going to go into detail right now, but the patient registry will help us. The tissue bank, and DNA tissue bank that we have, our genetic testing initiative that some of you may have heard of has been rolling out over the last year, clinical care guidelines that Dr. Awad mentioned yesterday, establishing clinical centers and supporting clinical research, setting up our trials, and then becoming willing participants. So let me go through each one of those real quickly. The patient registry is for us a communication tool. It's you sign up, you go give us some information about you. It takes about 20 minutes to fill out online. It's not a huge big deal. What you get in exchange is information from us. When a trial comes out that you might qualify for, we will let you know. There already have been outreaches that we've done for specific trials. There has been a common Hispanic mutation trial happening in New Mexico that we've gotten people into as a result of their having been in the registry. So I encourage each of you to get in there, and then a little later on there'll be a second reason to do it with the genetic testing. I'll talk about in a moment, but even just to get involved in research and to be counted so that we know what this disease looks like a little bit better. We have an idea of who we have and who's involved. Go back in every year, update what we've got. We'll get a little email reminder that says, hey, don't forget, you're signed up here. Please let us know if anything changed. And then we'll communicate research opportunities and some other things too. We have a DNA and tissue bank. We've had a DNA and tissue bank for 9 years now. And Angioma Alliance is the supplier of cavernous angioma tissue to labs throughout the world, period. If a cavernous angioma researcher wants tissue, wants a lesion, they come to us. We still do that very actively. We cut back a little bit on collecting the clinical data as much as we had before because our registry nurse retired, and we decided that we now have 7 years of data, and that's probably enough. But we still want to know if you have had a surgery in the past, your tissue, believe it or not, is still sitting in that hospital where you had that lesion removed. It's on a slide, it's in the pathology department, they're not doing anything with it but storing it. We would really love to get it into the hands of a researcher who can make use of it. So if you've had a surgery in the past and you're not part of the DNA bank, then we want to hear from you. It's angioma.org/DNA. Or if you have a surgery scheduled, And we'd like to hear from you, especially because then we might be able to get the tissue and have it frozen rather than on a slide, which makes it even more valuable. If you had surgery at Barrow, and a lot of you went there, you signed a release that said, yes, my tissue may be used. That wasn't the same release as what you needed for us. We have an agreement with the Barrow so that all of the tissue that they collect, we have access to. But if you haven't signed paperwork with us, then your tissue doesn't come with your name on it. They send it to us, excuse me, as anonymous tissue. We know if you're a boy or a girl, and we know if you had one or more of these multiple lesions, and we know, I think they give us your age. I'm not even sure about that. And that's it. That's all we know. So if you had a lesion removed at the Barrow, please sign up at angioma.org/DNA, and then we can match you with your tissue, and that makes it much more valuable for us. We also add value to the tissue for the researchers because when you get your tissue, we also ask for a blood sample. Usually that just comes straight from the hospital when you had the surgery. And we do genetic testing at a research level so that when a researcher gets the tissue, they don't have to spend the $500,000 whatever dollars to figure out what it is that they're getting. And they don't have to, we can fill very specific orders. So if they only want CCM2 tissue, we already know which of our tissue is CCM2 because we've done the genetic testing. And I can tell you there's been a boatload of papers that have been published, and the only way that they could have been written is because they had tissue from our DNA bank and our DNA and tissue bank. So please participate. We now have started a genotyping initiative, which, all right, so in the United States, for whatever reason, over the last couple of years, the insurance coverage for genetic testing has dwindled to almost nothing. You have to have some really good insurance now to get covered for genetic testing. We've also kind of, some of it was our fault. But once we figured out that CCM3 is a more aggressive form of the illness and is slightly different, what the insurance companies now have often started doing is just testing CCM3. And if you come up negative for that, they won't test 1 or 2 because they just assume it's one or the other. And to them, it doesn't make any difference. But it will make a difference once it comes time to give you medication, either in a trial or possibly even as a treatment. So we want everybody to get genetic testing if you have multiple lesions. If you only have one lesion, then you need to get, as Dr. Watt said, an MRI with an SWI sequence. And if you still only have one lesion, you don't need genetic testing. If you have multiple lesions on SWI, and it can't be explained by there being a DBA that might be generated in lesions, then you come to us. We will help you figure out how to get genetic testing. If your insurance covers it, please use it, because we have limited resources. But if your insurance doesn't cover it, we will pay for it. We will pay to have you genetically tested. And it's very, we try to make this really easy. I haven't had that many people get all the way through it yet, so it seems like it's harder than what I thought, but it's a packet that you get. You fill out 3 forms, you take 1 form to your doctor, because we're not allowed to tell you your result. Only your doctor can tell you your result. We can order the test, but the result comes to me, and then I give it to your doctor, and you find out what your answer is from your doctor. The doctor signs the paper that says, yes, this person has multiple lesions, no, their insurance won't cover it, and yes, I'm willing to tell what the result is. You send that back to me. We ship you to your house a kit that you spit in. And that's it. I mean, you spit, you have to, okay, you know, we gotta tell you, you have to use 2 tablespoons of saliva, which takes 5 to 10 minutes. It's not just a simple, you know, whatever, spit in the river kind of thing. You do have to put a little effort into it, but then you seal it up and put it in the mail and you're done. You're done. And then a few weeks later, you get your genetic testing result. And you can then follow that up if you have other family members with very, very inexpensive genetic testing. Once, I should say very, very less expensive genetic testing. A lot, yesterday said $70. That's in a research lab. That is not retail. Retail on a known mutation, you have a family member who's already been tested, so you're just checking the second, third, fourth family members, is $250. And if you can't do that, let us know and we'll help you with that too. We want to know everybody's mutation if we can. I've only gotten through 2 people all the way since we announced this. We have 2 other people who should have received their skip kits and sent them in. I want to get 100 people done by the end of the year if we can, if you guys are willing to. Clinical care guidelines, Dr. Awad talked about yesterday. We have a panel of, I think it's 15, I don't know the exact number, it's about 15 experts in radiology, genetics, neurosurgery, and neurology who have been meeting on a regular basis for the last year, online, in person, on the phone, and have been creating a document that they will be submitting to a journal that will include guidelines for care. So once this is published, and as I said, we anticipate that they'll have it written in the fall, by November at the latest, by the scientific meeting, probably like cut off their heads. And they will submit it to a major journal like Stroke. Stroke is a major academic journal that everything that's published in there is taken very seriously. Once it's published, we'll hand a copy out to all of you. You can take it to your doctors when you go to your appointments and say, look, this is what you're supposed to do. And so then you don't have the regional variability, as long as your doctor can read and will take it and will take it seriously, then we won't have the regional variability in clinical care that we seem to have right now. It still doesn't mean that you're going to get, as Awad put it, that you're going to can go in Great Falls, Montana, and get specimen results on your surgery. That's not going to happen. If you have a deep brain stem lesion, please don't get it excised in Great Falls, Montana. But it does mean that clinical decision-making part, how you should manage that lesion, should become more uniform, and no matter where you are. You can take that to your smaller local hospital doctor and say, this is the way to go. And again, this is Angioma Alliance. Your support is doing this. Our scientific advisory board wouldn't be together if it weren't for the organization. Our next step is to establish clinical care centers, clinical centers. Now, all of you have kind of become familiar over the course of this weekend with the main doctors that are responsible for CCM patients at the University of Chicago. They were here, you saw them talk. There is a pediatric neurologist too, Dr. Corman, who sees kids here. The University of New Mexico has a similar model of just a team of doctors who we know are familiar with the illness, and they're close to developing that I think Mayo is probably the furthest along in identifying who their specialists are, and at UCSF and the University of Utah. And in all of those places, they have scientific advice. Members of our scientific advisory board work in all of those places, so it's not like we're not connected somehow. But NIH has decided that in order to make clinical drug trials more efficient, they're going to establish centers in a network where all trials will be run. And unfortunately, the overlap between those centers and where our patients have their specialists is very small. There's only a few institutions in the stroke network where our clinical trials will be centered that are the same places, like the University of Utah is happily one, but where our specialists are located. So our job is going to be to take the clinical care guidelines that we develop and visit the places in the stroke network and begin to help them understand why they need to have experts on site to get prepared for clinical trials, and work with our scientific advisors to do some training there if needed to get them up to speed. This is a big job, and it's something that is really the plan for the next 2 years or so while we're getting ready. Once they get up to speed, then we can stamp on this certified CCM treatment facility and make big hoo-ha over them and let everybody know this is a safe place to send your family member for care if you need to. The way that we're trying to make this happen most quickly, and we're working very hard, is we've introduced legislation in the spring that's called the CCM Care Bill that does exactly that. It will shore up 3 major centers such as Chicago and New Mexico to really be comprehensive. And then it will give support to a bunch of other centers in the stroke network to get up to speed to where they need to be for clinical trials. So what we need from you is contact with your local congressional representatives, your congressperson and your senator. And especially if you live in a district where your representative is on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, or on the Senate side, if your senator is on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Because those are the 2 committees right now where this bill is sitting. And in order for it to move out onto the floor for a general vote or get packaged into another bill, we need to have co-sponsors. The only co-sponsors we have right now are from New Mexico. That's the group that introduced the bill. And we would like to be able to get co-sponsors from the country. There's information on the website for what to say when you call your representative. It's really great to make appointments, and they're home in August. They come home. They're not in Washington in August, so you can call and say, you may not get to talk to Senator Warner, but you can talk to Senator Warner's legislative aide who deals with health affairs. And that's just as good, because they're the ones who are actually helping the senator figure out what it is that he's supposed to be doing or she's supposed to be doing. So that the healthcare legislative aide, look on our website for more information. Amy asked me to put this in. Amy Akers is our chief scientific officer who couldn't be here because she gave birth recently. We've already sent her on 1 conference trip since then, and so it's well, maybe her 3-month-old should be abandoned again. So she already has another child. But the Brain Vascular Malformations Consortium is a project that Angioma Alliance has been in now for 5 years, and we just got renewed into a second 5-year grant funding. We didn't get any money out of the first 5 years. I think we're getting a little bit out of this 5 years. But what they're doing is recruiting anybody who has any form of a CCM1 mutation to participate in this. And you would join the registry to participate. See, that's how you get things here. You join the registry. Or contact Amy at amyakers@angioma.org. And what they're trying to do is understand better why some people with, and I'm looking specifically at CCM1 to start, but why some people in the same family have a very mild form of the illness, while others in the same family have a very severe form of the illness. They're trying to figure out what the differences could be. And also part of this has been a very small statin trial that they have started, although I think in order to participate in that part, you might need to travel to New Mexico relatively frequently. But for the other part of it, anybody can be part of it. So get on the registry. What else we do? Amy and I go to meetings a lot. We meet with people at the National Institute of Health. We talk with people at the FDA in order to get set up for drug trials. A lot of the work that we've done over the years has helped increase the emphasis in NIH on this illness. So over the last 2 years, all of a sudden a floodgate of grant money has opened up, and I think it's because we planted a lot of seeds along the way. The last time the bill was introduced, we were able to get all the way through the hierarchy in the National Institute of Health through Congress, through our connections that we made in Congress. We got to go in and actually have had a 20-minute session with Dr. Francis Collins, the head of the National Institute of Health, telling him why we're important and why he should care. And he came to our scientific meeting in November and addressed our crowd. There are 7,000 rare illnesses in us. So we felt very grateful for that. And the director of the specific part of NIH that gives out money for our illness came for an entire day of the scientific meeting. And walked away wearing a Zach Brown virtual 5K wristband. I don't know how that happened. So they know us in NIH, and Dr. Watt and a number of institutions were just awarded what he called a program project grant. He didn't explain what that was. It means that there was a lot of money given to a bunch of centers that are going to be working together on research. And it's all drug development related research, so it's really cool. They're going to start working on their project, I think, coming. The money gets released in July, I believe. We have to continue going to these meetings. We need to keep identifying patients who are going to participate in trials, and that means we need to have more and more people learn about us and know that we exist, which is a challenge, even with Facebook and the internet. You would think Google search would just, type in Angioma and we're like always one, two, or three that come up. But for some reason that isn't enough. We have Google ads on cavernous malformation and cavernoma. We come up there. If you Google one of those things, it's still not enough. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere I can think we can be. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere. But still, there are people who walked into this meeting saying, I heard about you from Nikki's article in the Deerfield Press. And it's great that Nikki got that article in the Deerfield Press. And we need as many people as possible to get articles in their local papers, because that seems to be a great way to reach out and get people to become more active, to become connected. And then we keep working with Congress to keep CCM a priority. Our next step as well is to begin a program of educating our members about what it means to be in a clinical trial, what the phases of a clinical trial are, where our members can start to plug in. Clinical trials come in 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. You guys are not needed for phase 1, but once phase 2 comes, then we're going to start asking some of you to sign on to be participants in the trials. And all of that information is going to be coming out as needed over the next year or two, probably the next 2 years. And then what I would like to do is get folks who either have experience with past clinical trials or folks who have been through one of our clinical trials to become mentors, so that people who are newly getting into trials can have somebody to ask questions of. That's on the wish list. And so our needs to get to where we want to get for those things. I don't know if you all know, but there's only 2 of us that have been doing everything. I'm one, Amy Akers is the other. We're the only employees that Angioma Alliance has. So if it needs to get done, in the end, it winds up somehow coming through one of us. To continue to grow, that's got to change. We need to be able to hire more staff to do the good things that we want to get done. One of the things that's been happening lately that has been very helpful are these opportunities we've had for these large-scale awareness events. The Red Sox event that we had in June was just the first in what is becoming a series of sporting events. I'm not sure if you read, but Tony, way in the back there, is organizing a cavernous angioma or Angioma Alliance night at the Cincinnati Reds, September the 9th. Please, everybody go to it. Anybody who is in any shouting distance from Cincinnati should try to get out for the game. We were approached by the hockey team, the New Jersey Devils, to have an Angioma Alliance night at the Devils sometime during their regular season coming up. That's we'll get more information out to you as soon as we have a date for it and know what the details are. And Ryan over there is going to be organizing that one as well. And so we're on a roll now, and we want to keep it going, and these have been a lot of events in a very short period of time that we've had, more than okay, so first off, I have an amazing supporting cast. I need to let you know that the board of directors of Angioma Alliance right now is the best board we've ever had. They are all here today, so please thank them. As they'll each have a chance to tell you a little bit too about what they're doing. Except Karen, I'm gonna let her talk. But I'll tell you what she does. They need your help too, but it's still, even with just this, we're only 7. There's only 7 of us on the board. With just the 7 of us, that's certainly not enough to do everything that we're trying to do. So we need someone who can help us. We need multiple volunteers, but it would also be nice at some point to have a full-time person or at least a part-time person to help us with these big awareness events and the smaller fundraising events that many of you would like to do but are scared to do, so that you can have some better support than what I can personally offer you. It would be good later on as we're developing clinical centers to have a person dedicated to being the liaison for the patient population. And then also patient education and support is what I spend a lot of my time doing, which is I love doing, but it could be done better if there were somebody who did that, rather than having it also come through me. And of course, to do these things, we need to have the finances to be able to do it. And I can tell you in this year, this fiscal year, 80% of our income was raised by 3 people. We have Tony has got another one coming up, and Julia's got another one coming up. So we've got, and they're all board people. So you can see where this is leading. We need more folks running fundraisers of whatever kind fits you. We need people participating in the Anywhere walks. We need people on the board. If you think that you might be interested in stepping up your level of commitment, talk to one of us. It really is kind of a cool thing to be on the board. It's a lot of work, but if you have time and you have talent and you think you might even have some connections that would play, we would love to have you because we need you. We need you. We need people with passion. And if you're here, if you made the time to come to this weekend, then I'm thinking you're already working yourself in that direction. So let us know. And the other part of this, the income was raised by 3 board members, and mostly they hit up their friends and family. So there's only so many times that they can keep hitting up their friends and family for the quantities of money that they got out of their friends and family. We need other people's friends and families to get hit up to. And that's where the Anywhere walks can come in. It's also where when I started Angioma Alliance, I wrote at that point when we were still doing letters in the mail. I sent a letter to anybody I had really ever known that had touched my life. I mean, I was writing church leaders, people I've been to school with, just everybody. And saying, I want to start this, my daughter's got this illness, can you help me out? And I got back $6,000. And in 2002 money, that's about $6,000 in 2015 money. But it was, for me, it was, wow, they trust me to be able to make a difference with their funds. And you can do the same thing. Just let them know. They want to know how to help. I assure you, if your family and friends haven't already written out a whole bunch of checks for you, they are dying to do it because they don't know what else to do to help you necessarily, but everybody knows how to start the check, and they will help you that way. Personal fundraisers, and again, if you're anywhere in the vicinity of one of our awareness events, I would love to see you there. These are the events that the board members have organized in the last year or last few years or have coming in the pipeline. And I just wanted to give each of them a quick second to tell you what their event is and also to say if there's anything that they think you should know about either doing the same for yourself or helping them or whatever. So, Tracy.
All first.
I think I might have gone that way. I like the best, maybe.
All right, we'll say that. I'm the cutest boy. Okay, then I'll go first. Yeah, so the Zach Brown 5K, I started a year after finding out about my son's diagnosis. I didn't know anything about it, but what I knew was they needed money for research. I didn't personally have any, so I was going to have to ask other people for it. Like Eileen, I'm not a runner. So why I picked a 5K? Because it had a low overhead. And so to me, that made sense. I wasn't going to put on a big gala. I'm not an event planner by trade. Anywho, I found a place and told all my friends, and a lot of people showed up. And then we had other people from other areas say, we wanted to, and I wanted people to feel involved. That's why we called it a virtual, so that if you lived in Alaska and you didn't know anybody else with an angioma, we would send you a shirt, you would send us a picture, and you would kind of party. Basically, if you want to see the change, you have to do something. You know, there's just not very many of us to do it. And I'm not a scientist, so we need money. So that's my plea, is to get involved and do something to bring in money to fund the research. Other things I do, little fundraisers like Chipotle, I plug them because they give 50% of the proceeds for a night. It costs a phone call and say, can we set up a fundraising night? They get the 501c3 number, the money goes straight to the Alliance, and I've made thousands of dollars in a matter of hours. People are going to eat anyway. So look for ways like that that are very easy to do. Every little bit helps. Someone mentioned that we are more prevalent than Parkinson's, but we don't have a Michael J. Fox. If you know anybody, famous, if you're related to somebody and they want to help us out, we just have to get our name out there. And if everyone did a little bit, it would happen a lot faster. That's it.
Julie is our newest board member. We just kind of roped her in the last few months, and she's already got into that.
At an event. My family, myself, my daughter, my granddaughter now, we all have the CCM1. And when my granddaughter was diagnosed, I said, you've got to get involved. You've got to do something. So I was a little hesitant because I didn't want to ask friends and family for money for help or whatever. So fortunately, my daughter's mother-in-law and father-in-law, they own a package store. And so we came up with the idea of a wine tasting. And so them and their distributors are going to be providing different wines for people to taste. And being a member of the Consortium Country Club, they donated the use of their facilities, so the overhead is relatively low. So we're going to start with is the first annual Angioma Alliance wine tasting and food pairing event. So we'll be selling tickets. We are also seeking sponsors, sending out letters to all my friends, all my family, all my business associates, and asking for sponsorship or if there's anything in some way that they can do to help. So it's my first time reaching out to everyone, so hopefully they get used to seeing my name and don't get tired of it when I ask them to repeat here for help. But I think this is going to be a really good event. From what I've gathered so far, we have a lot of support. So I think this is one event that we can really raise quite a bit of money, and awareness is a big thing too. We'll be in the newspapers, so we're located in the northwest hills of Connecticut, so we're trying to raise awareness to people out there as well, so we'll be advertising this event. So the people in Connecticut will know that there's other people like them out there. So we're really looking forward to this event, and I encourage it. I don't think it's very difficult to put on. It's a little bit of time consuming, a little bit of reaching out, but you'll find people are really willing to help.
Thanks, Julie. Ryan.
All right. For those that don't know by now, Ryan Westmoreland is probably one of the most famous people that have this condition, and former Red Sox prospect. I'm not a huge Red Sox fan, and so with both vested interest and passion for the Red Sox, got really excited about reaching out to him. I also knew some people in the Red Sox organization. I'm also their assistant, and so just a lot of phone calls, emails, arranged what ended up being an amazing night. Really, really excited. 40,000 people were at the game, plus Ryan, I don't know if you saw, was interviewed by Nesson, which is TV, and WEI, which is radio, so we can reach about another 1 million people. A lot of people in the Boston area know the story of Ryan Westphal, but they didn't necessarily connect it to cavernous angioma. They didn't necessarily connect to the angioma line, so it's a nice way of bringing that back together. So that was a great night. We raised a lot of money, a lot of awareness. We hope to do as good of a job. As Connie said, with the Devils, that'll be this hockey season. We talked to them. I do have someone that stepped forward that is helping me. I got a lot of help last time, but I've got a kind of right-hand man this time, which is great. And I also hope to do them with the Newman Patriots from the Boston area. So no promises there. We could deflate hate aside. But so we hope there's someone that's got a connection there. So kind of the request is just think of someone that you know that, oh, yeah, I know someone that works for someone in this. If that's the case, I'd be more than willing to help push and get a way in. And it's amazing what we can do when we know someone. I know Tony's going to talk about how he got in touch with the Reds, but we've got a good story to tell and how we've done it in the past. And so with the Devils and without the second season, the next one being easier. So I think with Ryan and the connection to the Red Sox owners was a gift. But I think the next one will be easier, and so I like this kind of momentum. I'd like to see us do a couple of these a year. It's also fun. I thought it was a fun night, and so it's a great way of raising awareness.
Yeah, and I want to say too, once we have the New Jersey Devils event worked out, we have another member who is going to approach the Hershey Bears, which is a minor league hockey team. Some of you are actually from that. Not that far away from that area, so it doesn't need to be the major league team. It can be minor league teams. We also had a small event with the Lowell Spinners the previous year. That was the minor league team that Ryan played for. He was not this round. Ryan was more he played for. You could have back in the day. Yeah. So you don't have to think 35,000 people, including a little bit smaller too. Tony.
See, my name's Connie here. My son Dylan has CCM1. Surgery is one. He's actually getting surgery in. So, as you can see, just like everyone's important for me, it's a passion of mine. My wife also has CCM1, and she basically what I've done in the past is very similar to Tracy. I've been focusing on fundraising, side passion of mine, just event planning and stuff like that. Fundraising and stuff. Got involved in technology. What we've done in the past, we've done 2 rocket bowls, which again, like Tracy, look for something low overhead that we can raise a lot of money. I think we did about $30,000 in about 2 years of that. So those were good events. We also did satellite walks for the Zach Brown. But when we heard about Ryan getting involved in the Red Sox, it was very simple. We knew all the details from what Ryan was saying was playing, and we went to something called Reds Fest. Basically, it's something they do in the winter. Cincinnati fans excited, and not Cincinnati. Jerry and I approached the sales rep and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing for Red Sox. Can we get it with Reds?" And we gave some more details. We met with them. So that's how we got nominated this year, and I'm very excited to be that night because it's they had the All-Star game, baseball games recently, and there was only 2 nights left, and they were able to choose one because they had so many different groups, organizations, approaches for that, doing something. So we're doing a Reds game in almost the same format as what Ryan did in Boston on Wednesday, September 9th. are having Mary join us in the national anthem again. We also are having Liz's cousin, it's Joe Price. He pitched for the Reds for about 6 years. So he's going to come to Cincinnati because one thing we found going a lot of baseball games, what happened in the Red Sox was he had that pregame stuff people don't pay attention unless there's like a strong connection. Carrie said when she was sitting in the crowd, Ryan was once the 8th game, listen, pay attention. So we're hoping with Joe Price is being a well-known name in Cincinnati that we'll get a lot of people listening to the pregame festivities. So our biggest needs right now are ticket sales. We have a bunch of tickets to sell. We get discounted tickets, and $6 in every ticket we sell goes to the So please reach out to me. My name or my phone number and email on the flyer. We also are looking for help with sponsors. Right now we have a $6,000 people sponsor so please, you know anyone in Cincinnati, in the West area, just looking to get their name out there. We're doing social media. We're going to banner at the game. Connie's going to put the newsletter. We'll help some name out for your business. We also do some businesses for also, the last thing, and I'll talk to Heather about this, we'll have the opportunity to have some kids out in the field before the game, like we did last weekend. So if you are in the area when you come to the game, I'll get a final number, but I'm looking around 4 to 6 at the end of Boston. We'll get walk out with Joe Price on the field for the first pitch. So we'll also get an on-field check presentation as well. So
We're looking specifically for children who are affected.
Right, I'm sorry, yes, thank you.
Specific.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. So if your kid's affected, if you need to make it, let me know. But yeah, those are our biggest needs. The last thing is we're working with media, local media, to get the word out. So if anyone has any media connections in Midwest Cincinnati, again, let me know. And we're going to hope to have Joe Price from Philadelphia, which is one of the biggest radio stations in the country. Right, so I hope we really reach what might millions of people. That's all I got.
Please.
My name is Liz Newman, and myself and my 2 sons are affected by CCN3. I'm asymptomatic, but my boys are not. My oldest son was diagnosed at 2. He's now 17. He's had 1 brain surgery and multiple bleeds over the last 15 years. And my younger son, Sam, has needed 5 brain surgeries and has hundreds of connections and lots of bleeds. And when my boys were diagnosed, I realized 15 years ago, this is going to be our new normal. How are we going to live with this? How am I going to cope with this? How am I going to get to the point of acceptance? And for me, it was hope. It was hope that there was going to be something other than surgery, that we needed a medicine so that they could create the life that they dreamed of. And like Connie, I didn't know what to do. I just started writing letters. I just started asking people. And the key to that was developing my story. I would really encourage all of you to take a few minutes and think about what's happened to you. Because what's happened to you is important and it's powerful. And if you can condense that into a 5 to 8 minute story that when you meet somebody, you already know it in your mind, and you can share your experience, you never know where that connection is going to lead you. That connection led me to the director of the National Institutes of Health, but perhaps most importantly for Angioma Alliance, it led me to take a chance meeting with a winemaker from Napa Valley and literally take his arm and sit him down and for 10 minutes tell him my story. And he said, I want to help you. And that help turned into an auction that he allows us to put on at a wine release that he has in our town in California every year. And it's produced more than $700,000 for Angioma Alliance. And without just making those connections, without reaching out, it never would have happened. And I think that sometimes we feel like we're sharing this story and it looks like we want sympathy, but it's the opposite. You're giving people an opportunity. You're giving people an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of curing a rare illness. Angioma Alliance has made huge strides since we started the biobank in in '06. It's a miracle how far we've come. When my boys were diagnosed, doctors told me, maybe for your grandchildren, there might be a medication. We're going to have a medication most likely in my boy's lifetime. And you can help that happen just by developing your story. I've done everything from direct asks, which in the beginning resulted in a $500 check, which I thought was huge, and it is huge. But this year I had a direct ask that resulted in a check for $35,500. So you can do this. You might be sitting here right now going, I don't know anybody who has $35,000 to write me a check, but I didn't either 15 years ago. And when you start sharing your story, you get more and more opportunities. So, I've done everything from a rummage sale to a poker tournament to, this charity wine auction. And I just encourage you to reach out, work on your story, share it with people you know, and I'm here to help you. If you want help thinking about how to present your story, if you want help planning an event, I am at your service, and I know that together we are going to make a real treatment for cavernous angioma as a possibility.
And I just want to give a shout out too, because there are other people in this room who have already done fundraising things. The Sanders and Reynolds families are not there, and they have a group that they call CCM3 in Indy that has their money is specifically targeted toward CCM3, but we're finding out now that that helps everybody. And they have had numerous events, including an annual walk that is coming up. The next one is coming up in September, bowling event, and just smaller things, direct-to-consumer sales, where we've been getting some of the proceeds from for like 21, if you guys know what 21 is. The women who know what 21 is, the men of it. It's a game that you play with cards. And candles and other things like that. Eileen has had Johanna's Hope for a Cure, and that did very well. And it was basically a dinner date, right? Is that how you describe it?
Yeah, it was at a winery also, because we found out, and Liz will, well, one of the things was is Liz also came, which was helpful. But we found out when you give people wine, they give more money. You share wine with a fundraiser, and it's
Very true.
And can I just make one quick point with that too? We were working on this, and I did have Liz and Connie helping me with the details of things, and in the midst of it, Johanna had a pretty major bleed, ended up back in the hospital, ended up having shunt problems, and we were in and out of the hospital for the whole thing, and actually I think about a week after the fundraiser, she had another surgery. So, and I'm still standing. So it is possible. You can feel like there's no way. We're too affected. We have too many things going on. But it's possible when the Angioma Alliance and all those wonderful members, really are.
Yeah. And Gail has supported other people's fundraisers by donating plants that she's made. Alexis and her sister Kylie is not here. Okay, so this is like still the story that I love to tell. Alexis and Kylie contacted me when they were in middle school, and on their own, without any adult, whatever intervention, they decided that they were going to knit scarves with their girlfriends and sell them, and they called themselves Scarves for CCM1. And they sat around in Beth Ann's basement. I've been there. It's like this little extra room they had full of yarn and a circle of chairs. And they sold these scarves for $15 a piece. And I have two. I have two. They're very sweet, and they made thousands of dollars. And they also did a flapjack breakfast when the girls took over an Applebee's for a morning. They used the Applebee's staff to cook the food, but they became the servers, they and their friends. And again, they raised money. And she just handed me a $1,000 check. I don't know how that happened, but she just handed me a $1,000 check. It's just something else has happened in the meantime. You can do 12 and do this, just the same. Lee and Kim are in the back there, and we've all met Zane because he's about that tall and just so cute. I mean, he wants to do that. But they host an annual tandem skydive. Now, if you're affected, you may not participate, but if you're not affected, their criteria is that you must raise 300 pounds in order to participate, which is $400, about $400, $500, $450. You have to, each person who signs up to participate in the tandem skydive has to come with that much money that they've raised in order to participate. And they've done this now, this is their third or fourth year. Yeah, and you get 20 plus participants every time, right? So that's another way, plus other things that have happened with me and Kim. Someone, a woman shaved off all her hair, and made that turn that into a fundraiser. And people do smaller things too as well, right? Yeah. So there's multiple ways. And then many others of you have participated, I could call you all out by name because I think I know who all of you are, but I'm not going to take the time right now. And you've organized anywhere walks, you've participated in the Rare Disease Day auction that we had in 2014, or you've just asked your families and friends for support, and I see their checks coming, and we're really grateful for them. So, big plug for fundraising. It is something that anybody can do. And I think that's all I have for there, but I do want to just thank all of you for coming. This was the best conference that we've had so far, and it's not over yet. And I just hope that you guys got as much out of it as I was able to get out of it. And these are always so special, and I'm so glad that we were able to have another one since the last one. What we're going to do now is go back into conversation groups the way we did yesterday. You are all, for the most part, you are assigned to different groups, and even if you're assigned to the same group, you'll be seeing different faces. We have Brian, who's going to help figure out where people are going, right? You're going to help put the room together like you did yesterday.
Smile.
What was that?
Amazon, smile.
Oh, okay. Karen's our treasurer, so she supports everybody, mostly me. And she said, make sure that you have signed up for Amazon Smile, and make sure so that every time you shop Amazon, 0.5% of your purchase comes to us. And I want to say, sign up for IVF.com, because that's even more percentage when you go through there. So, okay, we'll rearrange and we'll put up signs, and you guys should be able to figure out where you go based on what's in the back of your thing. And then afterwards, at the very end, we're coming back here and drawing some raffle tickets. So don't